All right, welcome to the Creation to Cash Flow podcast. On this podcast, we discuss strategies to maximize your creativity and help you achieve financial freedom. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, Nick.
How are we doing today?
We're doing great. Life is so entertaining because things come out of nowhere, but I'm doing good.
How was your weekend?
Oh,
Anything exciting
oh
happen?
God. Okay, so yeah, I have a story to share with you and everyone. It's not as bad as it sounds. I had my very first panic attack ever, like a true panic attack, which I'm actually so grateful that it happened because of two reasons. Number one, I can now understand and empathize with people more who have these. And also, my whole entire life flashed before my eyes, and I'm just on a whole new level of gratitude and motivation to get my butt in gear and just like, I don't know, live my life and do what I want to do because I literally thought I was going to die. That's how it felt. So what happened was I was standing, it was 10:30 p.m. I was standing in my living room running my lines for my acting scene with Evan, and I suddenly couldn't speak. Like I had this feeling of I couldn't, my speech was delayed. Like I had thoughts, but I couldn't speak anymore. And I was like, what the heck? And of course, that terrified me. Like that's a scary feeling. Then my hands and my feet went numb. And then my heart sunk into my butt. And I was like, what is happening? So I looked at Evan and I said, I think I'm having an allergic reaction or a seizure. Like I can't talk, I can't do anything. So I went down to the ground. I put my face on the ground. I'm like, my heart is beating like 160 beats per minute. That's really fast, guys. Like, that's just unnatural. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, what is going on? Why do I feel this way? Why am I so, like, my limbs stopped working? And then I remembered that 2 hours earlier, I was leaving acting class. And after class, I live in Los Angeles. Like, a lot of people smoke or they just like take CBD, THC, whatever. I've taken CBD gummies, especially on airplanes, like whatever. So there was these like little things are called puffs, and it's this little. It looked like a chip, but it was like a candy, and I thought it was CBD, and I was like, whatever. Everybody ate one, so I was like, yeah, I'll have one, whatever. I did not hear the word edible, but that ended up being what it was, and I honestly, I felt great coming home. I ate, so I just thought it didn't hit me. 2 hours later, it hit me. Like, I don't know how that could even happen, but it wasn't CBD. It was THC. It was actually Delta 9, and it was 7.5 milligrams, which I don't smoke anything. Like, I am not used to it. So it says to start out at 2 milligrams if you're not used to it, if you don't have a tolerance built up. And in the moment when I remembered I had this thing, I was like, I don't actually think that's what's causing this, but I'm going to tell myself right now that that is what's going on so I can get myself out of this panic, because I was panicking because I felt weird because I didn't know what was happening. So I told myself, even if this isn't true, I'm going to tell myself that I'm going to be okay. I crawled to the living room. I laid on the floor. I told Evan to turn on The Office because I listened to it every single night going to bed. And I literally fell asleep on the living room floor. And I was just like, I don't even know if that's what it was, because that's wild that it would take 2 hours, Nick. Like 2 hours to kick in. But I was like, what else can I do? I can call the ambulance. I was trying to tell Evan to call 911. Like I couldn't breathe. I was trying to tell him to call 911, but I couldn't say the words because I didn't have motor function. And I I was just like, what can I do? So I just was like, Michelle, you're going to tell yourself that this is nothing. You're going to be okay. This is all in your head. And it's so crazy because as soon as I like told myself it was whatever I ate, my heart rate went down a little. It went down to 140 and I fell asleep, and I felt like crap the next day, but I was okay, and I've been okay ever since. So was it that? Probably, maybe not, but at the end of the day, it is so crazy how my body could immediately like almost heal itself or like get into a better state because I told myself I wanted to be and that I could be. It's just so crazy how we can like physically affect ourselves by what we're thinking mentally. Ugh, it was crazy. I don't wish that upon anyone ever.
This is so funny, Michelle. And guys, this is not, we have a good episode planned, but don't worry. This is just like funny side note, but I'm picturing Michelle like nearly losing her life to this edible, crawling through her penthouse on all fours, and nearly I was nearly doing this episode alone, guys. We almost lost Michelle, but thankfully she was able to put on The Office and curl up in a ball and get some rest. I had a very similar edible experience not that long ago. I do smoke occasionally, but like I don't like edibles. They don't make me feel good. And I ate an edible with my brother. I think he had two. Like it was no big deal. I was like, I'm just gonna have one. Just gonna play it safe. I could always have another later if I want. And then maybe like an hour and a half or 2 hours later, apparently that's just how long it takes. Um, I don't know if anyone growing up had to read the book Big Red about the dog. I thought it was a golden retriever. Apparently it's an Irish setter is the kind of dog. And the dog gets shot and like runs away into the woods to heal. And the boy in the book is so sad. And eventually the dog like comes back. And I had a similar experience where I was like, I need to retreat right now. I need to go hide. I need to go die in the woods or in silence. And I think I just went and hid in my bedroom or under a blanket. And I was like, I'm not well right now. And I did what Big Red did. And I was like, I have to go. I have to go die alone now. Um, but I also ended up pulling through. So there we go. I don't know. I guess the theme to start this episode is be mindful of your edible ingestion.
Yeah, and also if you do eat one, like, know what you're eating. It's so stupid. I should know what I'm like, who does that? That was me in college, but what am I doing now? Like, I'm 30 years old. You would think that I would be like, "Oh, what's in it?" No, I just ate it. Everyone else was doing it. God, I sound like a child telling their parents why they can justify, like, getting drunk at a school party on a Monday night or something. Oh man, I'm glad you pulled through. I love that you at least knew what was happening to you.
Yeah, I'd been there before. That was a place I had been, and I didn't want to return to when I went back. And that's okay. So none of this was related to our episode today. We have a great episode for you. Actually, it's we're going to talk about being a perfectionist and whether it's better to just like execute and just get it done, or to be a perfectionist, because sometimes it's hard and it depends. So this is an AYQ. This is an answering your questions episode. So I'm going to play the recording that one of our lovely listeners sent in. And reminder, you guys can always send these in too, and we will make an episode for you based on your topic or situation or whatever it is. If you want to submit one of those, just go to creation2cashflow.com and just leave us a voice memo. Tell us your name, maybe where you're leaving it from. We always love to know. And then just tell us what you want to hear and we'll talk about it. So I'm going to share that right now.
Hi, Nick and Michelle. This is Kristen from Houston, Texas, and I am a recovering perfectionist. I've heard you say that posting one great video is better than posting 3 terrible videos, but also that done is better than perfect. So, where is that line? When do you decide to focus a substantial amount of time on one video, but also avoid the perfectionism trap?
This is a great question. Where is the line between just trying to get something done or spending a lot of time making it perfect when you could have actually gotten more done imperfectly in the meantime?
Such a great question.
This is a tough one to answer because I feel like the line moves. There are certain scenarios where your your perfectionism will take you further, and there are other scenarios where it's like, oh, I mean, just get it done, just get it over with, rip the band-aid off and let's keep it moving. So let's dive in, Michelle.
Let's do it. And also start by saying everything that we're going to say today, there's no definitive anything. It's all so circumstantial depending on what your goals are and everything like that. But we do have advice and thoughts, and just know that like these aren't the only way to do things.
Yeah, so I think what would be best is if we start at a lower level, meaning like practically, like when it comes to making a video, and then we can talk about at a higher level, like the perfectionism versus just executing. Then we could talk about that and how it relates to your mindset. But at a lower level, I feel like the first thing we need to discuss is it depends where you're posting this. What platform is it going on? Let's give an example, Michelle. Like, where do you think it would be more important to be a perfectionist and put a ton of time into one video versus just cranking one out?
So, the ones that I would say you should not be a perfectionist on, but you should spend more intentionality behind is your portfolio videos for sure, because that is your first impression on a brand, on a potential client. They're looking at that to see what type of content you are capable of creating. So, you want that to be a reflection of the kind of content you will be delivering to them or for them, posting whatever it is. That is the front door. That is the most important thing. Same thing with like the top of a website. You know, that's the first impression that your potential audience or customers are going to be seeing. So you want to spend time on those. Those are important because you only have a couple shots to impress them. Same with the pinned videos on your profiles. So not that it has to be perfect, but as long as it is a reflection of what you are capable of creating and what you enjoy creating and what you can create more of, that is important. So you just need to be very intentional about those two specific areas. I guess three if you add in the website as well.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Anywhere where it's going to be a reflection of you, which obviously is any social media, but anywhere where it's going to be a reflection of you and people are going to see it often. This could be like pinned posts at the top of your profile, could be on your portfolio, could be anything related to your resume. Any place where you know people are going to see this often, be a perfectionist, make it perfect. And that goes for any other pieces of work that people are going to see often. Like if you were writing a book, this is one where like you want to make sure it's perfect. You want to put your 1,000 hours into it. But in general, social media content, it's tough. This is one where the line moves a little bit. Like on social media, I think when you're new, you're best to just make as many videos as possible and just try and learn from them, because when you're new, if you're spending too much time on one video, it's still not going to come out good. Just cuz you're not good yet. You don't have the editing techniques that would even take you 2 hours. So if you're just trying to mess with it for 2 hours and make it perfect, it's still not going to be perfect. And you should just post. Just post, review the analytics, review the feedback. What's your average watch time like? What are people saying in your comments? Did it get any comments? But as you get a little more experienced, you're going to be wise to put more effort into each video and make less of them, because that's what your audience is probably going to want. They're going to want to see things that you clearly put some time into and that are enticing to watch.
Yeah, but I also think it still depends. Because if it's a long form YouTube video, I do think you need to be intentional with that. But some people are intentionally not perfect in their videos, and I find it very entertaining to watch. So if it's my Instagram, I'm way more intentional with it. But if it's TikTok Shop, because that is still such a new platform and TikTok's audience isn't necessarily wanting the perfection. They kind of just want that conversation like you're on FaceTime with a friend. So I would say you don't even have to be perfect. My videos are never perfect, by the way, side note, ever. They're never perfect. I can always do better. I have to just tell myself I'm posting it. Like I can always do better. And then it's just kind of a waste of time. But with TikTok specifically, yes, even if you're a beginner, please just crank out as much as you can. You got to get that muscle built up. You got to learn by execution and by doing, and then you have to give it time. And so you have to produce. And that's okay. Do it while you don't have 100,000 followers and they're judging you. Like just do it now before you get all of that. Use it as a benefit of yours. But when it comes to, yes, I know how to make a better video, you have to also know what works for this platform. Some of the top TikTok shop videos aren't mass produced, aren't perfect looking, but they are intentionally cutting out the pauses and keeping the audience engaged, using a good hook and stuff like that. But they don't visually always look as aesthetic as something on Instagram or YouTube short or Pinterest.
You know where I think this can be bad too is like making lots of videos quickly. I think it can be bad if you don't take the time because I guess the question is like, is it better to make one really good video or three less good videos? If you're going to make three that you tried to get done faster, but you don't actually take any time after to meditate on like, what did you learn? What could you have done better? What did you sacrifice by rushing? And was that sacrifice worth it? Then I don't think this is a good thing. If you're just making videos really quick and you're not taking the time to think about those things after, I think it can be pretty damaging because chances are those videos you rushed through, sure, they might do well, but I feel like the odds are stacked against you at least. I think it's going to be harder because you didn't put as much love into it. So you at least have to think about like, okay, what did I sacrifice by trying to do this thing quickly? And it's not just about your content either. Think about anything that you rush through in your life. Maybe it's traffic, right? Maybe like you're trying to swerve around people and get to some place faster and it's like what are you sacrificing? What did you sacrifice by rushing? Like was there a potential lesson in taking your time that you now missed out on? So I don't know. It's so hard to actually there's no right answer to tell people like, oh, you should do this or you should do that. I think we're just trying to bring awareness to all of the potential things that we want to make sure that you're not missing. Like I want to make sure you're not missing out on the lessons, whether you're rushing through videos or not.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. It's what are you learning from this? It's not just about what are you gaining from this? What are you earning from this? It's what are you learning? What are you learning about you as a creative, as your skill set is growing, hopefully, but it's only going to grow if you take a moment to reflect upon what you've already done and how you can improve. So I think that's such good advice. I also will say too, another example, Amazon. If you're posting on your storefront, they they completely don't allow replicated content anymore. Like you can't make so many videos about the same product. So yeah, I would create a video that sells to the people that are on Amazon. And just be intentional with it, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I think perfect also looks different. Nick and I's content is very different than one another. Some of his videos, I'm like, that was so perfect. And it's not that it's aesthetic or like, you know, all this curated, like beautiful, intentional lighting, all that, but it's perfect in his own way. And I see that and I'm like, dang, that was a perfect freaking video. It probably wouldn't work for me, but it works for him. And so it's also redefining what perfection is. Like, what is that? It's so not specific and it's so dependent upon who you're asking.
Yeah, this is a perfect segue into like higher level thinking. What are we grading, right? Like all this like, oh, perfection should is it better to be a perfectionist or to just do it messy? It's like, well, we have to decide what are we grading? Like what determines if it worked or not? And again, this could be for your videos, could be for anything. But we have to decide like what are we grading by? What is the success metric? Is it how many times you did it? Like was your goal to post every day and you're just doing it to check a box and you're like, cool, I posted even though it was shit and I'm not proud of it? Or is it more like, well, I'm trying to post every day, but the underlying reason I want to post every day is because I want to hit 1,000 followers. And it's like, okay, so let's take a step back. Posting every day might not be the thing to get you to 1,000 followers, but maybe taking more time to post intentionally and let people know what they can expect more of if they follow you. Maybe that should be the thing that we're grading. And instead of making 7 posts per week, what if you made 5 and you were more intentional about them? Is that going to get you to your success metric faster, which might be 1,000 followers?
Exactly. And the thing is, too, when it comes to followers, a lot of times, I'm not saying you need a niche, but a lot of times they follow you because they want to see the similar kind of content, whether that's just you from your perspective or a specific visual. They follow you because there's a vibe that you put off that they want to continue to follow. So if you're putting out 7 random videos every week, and they're not cohesive, they're going to not know what they're getting from you. And it might be because you don't even know what you're giving to them. You don't even know what you're bringing to the table. And that's okay. I didn't know for the longest time. I still sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? Like I still post random things, but it's very 90% 10%. now. But if you're intentional, it only really takes one video for you to get all those followers. I got all my TikTok followers up to like 26,000 from 700 from one single video. And I kept posting because of that. I kept posting more similar content to that before I pivoted and had like 10 different niches since then. So if your goal is followers, I know that a lot of people say like create, create, create. That is a good goal, but I don't want you to think that you're going to get the followers from that. I think that's great advice for you to determine what you even want to create. Like when I started creating content, I didn't know what I enjoyed. I thought I wanted to do fashion, but I realized like, oh, I don't like having that many clothes. I like kind of wearing the same thing every day, so I don't have to think about it. It's so much mental energy. So I pivoted, and I've pivoted ever since I started, and I'm still always pivoting my kind of content, but I actually know what I stand for now and my voice and who I am, and I bring that online. And I think that that should be the end goal of posting constantly or posting consistently, not necessarily that you're going to get all these followers. But again, if it's TikTok shop, it might take you doing all these different videos because you never know what's going to pop off. But when something does start to gain traction, I would capitalize on that. And maybe you don't have to be perfect about it, but you can still tap into exactly what are people asking about, what are people wanting information on, and then really like responding to them.
Oh, that was deep. That was really good. I like thinking about this because I don't know. I'm still hung up on how many people just heard someone say once that you have to post every day or you have to post 2 or 3 times a day, and it's like, who told you that? Like, you did a great job, Michelle, of breaking down like what is the goal. And I want everyone listening to truly think about that, like in your social media content or whatever it is you're trying to accomplish. Maybe this applies elsewhere too. What is your actual goal? And trying to work backwards and reverse engineer that. Because with my social media content, my goal right now is to build my personal brand. That does not require me to post a certain amount of times. It requires the posts I make to show people more about my lifestyle, which is just like a lot of like fishing, guitar, doing calls, and having conversations like this, pretty much always with Michelle. Like, this is what I want people to see. And my goal is not followers. I would like to lose followers that are not interested in that and gain followers that are. So the success metric is really important. And I think the preparation too, because once you kind of know, okay, what's my goal? Am I just trying to hit a follower requirement so I can post on TikTok shop? Whatever your goal is, once you reverse engineer that, taking time to prepare your content so that it's in line with that goal. Because there's this great Abraham Lincoln quote that I love, I've been saying a lot lately. It is, Abraham Lincoln said, "If I had 6 hours to chop down a tree, I would spend 5 hours sharpening my axe." And I truly just like, that is such good advice because most people, their goal, they want to have 10,000 followers or something like that, or they have a monetary goal. A lot of the time it's $10,000 per month. That's what people want to make with their online ventures and things. And then they're just throwing shit at the wall to see if it sticks. When realistically, you got to take a moment, several moments, most of your moments, even as Abraham Lincoln would want you to do, and prepare and be intentional about how you're going to do that. What kind of video can you make that is going to move the needle forward towards that goal? I think it's so important to spend more time preparing and less time doing the actual creating and posting.
Unless unless you're new and you don't know where you even want to go. This is
Yep.
what I tell people all the time that want to become a creator. I'm like, what do you want to create? They're like, I don't know. I don't know. I have so many ideas. And I'm like, just start. Stop trying to think because so many people don't even get started because they're trying to prepare too much and they don't know anything. And for me, Nick, I only grew because I just started doing things. And again, do it now before you have the followers. Like, do it now. Practice now. Practice, like, people don't just go into the NFL. You literally have to be playing football for a long time in school and out of school. Then you have to go and like play in college or something, and then you can finally get paid for it. Why is the same standard not with creatives and not with building a business? It should be. It's the same thing. It's just a different muscle. It's a creative muscle. And you're only going to grow if you get started. But you can't, but all that to say, when you're a beginner, you can't make your goal $10,000 a month. You need different goals that are more achievable. You need more practical goals, or you're just going to get disappointed. You're going to get stuck. You're going to get in a rut. You're going to harm yourself. People that are in second grade playing football aren't like, I want to go to the NFL tomorrow. Like, no, they're like, someday in like 10 years from now. That's realistic. So if you're a beginner, make your goals measurable and achievable, and then you can add on more goals that are a little bit more intense. But you have to get your footing. You have to be a baby again, a little baby, a little toddler that doesn't know what they're doing, and you can only get your footing and start walking and running and learning how to throw something if you start creating and executing. So I think that what Nick is saying is so true. But as long as you're a beginner, then it's still true what he's saying, but you need to have a different goal. And it can't be that you're trying to get to 5,000 followers. It needs to be that you're learning how to create content.
That is a great point. It is not going to work. It's not going to work for beginners. Like that Abraham Lincoln quote applies to someone that's a little bit more experienced. And at first, you got to just figure out like, which tree do you want to chop down? Why do you want to chop down a tree? And the first step is probably just figuring out like, what am I going to even use to chop down a tree? Am I going to use an axe? Am I going to use a saw? I don't know. I'm taking this analogy too far, but Abraham Lincoln would be proud.
It's perfect.
Yeah, he would be proud for sure to hear that he's being quoted on the Creation to Cash Flow podcast. But you're right. Like for beginners, the goal should just be like, I want to get my first 1,000 view video and see what I can learn from that and what the lessons are in that you can apply to your next one. I really like your analogy about how a second grader might want to be in the NFL, but they're going to have to set much smaller goals than that. Like first they want to like be the starter on their peewee team,
Yeah.
and they want to be the starting wide receiver first and just work their way up. So having that big goal is really important. And then having smaller goals along the way to ensure that you are learning and you're on that proper path. And also just trusting that it takes time. Like whether you're a perfectionist or you're trying to just do it messy, whatever you're trying to achieve, it's probably not going to be quick. And you have to know that, and you have to be patient because realistically, things are going to unfold for you in the way they need to. Let's say you're way too big of a perfectionist and you're spending too much time on things. That's eventually going to catch up to you. And somehow life is going to smack you around and give you a lesson like, hey, it doesn't have to be so perfect. Just get it done. And if you're too far in the other direction and you're just cranking things out that you're not proud of and you're not putting a lot of effort into, life is going to smack you around eventually and be like, hey, slow down, give it more time and intentional thought and spend more time, put more love into this, and you'll get better results. So, in a way, it's almost like there's no line because the line moves so much. It's almost like there's no line.
Yeah. There is no line. There's only you trying to do your best. And if something could be better, then you just fix it. That's the thing, too, is like, let's talk about TikTok Live, for example. People are so afraid to go live because they're like, oh my God, what if I say something wrong? What if I do this wrong? But I'm like, you only can get more comfortable by doing it. You just have to show up. And guess what? Unless you download the video and post it, like no one's ever going to see anything past that live moment. So you've got to, you can try to prepare. If you're like doing a TikTok shop promotion, like, yeah, put the thing in your cart before you go live, prepare a little bit, but don't don't overthink it so much to where you're just not even going live. Like you're hurting yourself. And what we're trying to help you do is like, I guess, just have these moments with yourself, journal about it, about what are you afraid of doing? What are you putting off doing? And what is taking you so long to do something that you know you're supposed to do? And is it you that's stopping yourself, or do you just need to learn more? And if you need to learn more, how can you do that? Do you need to post more? Do you need to edit videos more? Do you need to get in an amazing group where you can get feedback from people, like with Brands Meet Creators? Like, what is it that you need to do? Because there's a problem we all have. We all have so many problems, but we also have a lot of ways we can fix those problems. We just have to get them out on paper by silencing everything around us and just talking about it with ourselves, and then, or getting in a group, like I said, and talking about it with others, but then, and then like doing something instead of just like not showing up just because you don't know where to go.
Yeah, you can't. Yeah, you don't want to just wait till everything is perfect. Like sometimes you got to take that messy action, surround yourself with the right people. Um, I just noticed, I just made like drew this conclusion that I've been battling this myself, trying to learn to surf
Mm.
because I went surfing yesterday morning for probably 3 hours, like two like 90-minute sessions. It was exhausting. It's it's so tiring and difficult. Even though people make it look very casual, it's not. And I'm pretty new to surfing. I've been surfing like 12 times maybe, and I'm in this debate with myself when I'm sitting out there on my board of like, okay, do I keep waiting for the perfect wave to come along, or do I just get some practice in and just try and ride as many waves as possible, even if they're not perfect? So I've been like going through this internally while trying to learn to surf of like, what's better, being a perfectionist, waiting for this perfect wave that realistically I'm new. I'm probably not even ready for the perfect wave, and it's probably better if I just execute and I just try and catch more waves, even if they're messier. But once I get to be a better, more confident surfer, that's not going to be the case. I'm going to want to sit out there for as long as it takes for that perfect, like once in a lifetime wave to come along. But right now, like I got to just take messier action so I can learn and just get to the point where I have enough confidence and I've practiced enough and I can implement the lessons that I've learned and try to do it perfectly.
Wow, that's such a good example. I'm about to start surfing too here. I've never surfed in the Pacific Ocean. I've only surfed in Florida, and it's terrifying. I've been putting it off because I am afraid. Like, I'm like, what if I'm not perfect? Or what if, I don't know. I don't know what I'm afraid of, but I'm like, I need to get a surfboard. I already have lessons lined up, and I'm just going to start doing it. And you know what? I'm going to show up and I'm going to look like a beginner because I am. And that's okay. Embrace that, embrace it. And then when you get better, embrace the fact that maybe you don't have 10,000 hours yet. So you're going to fall on your face in the water or online, whatever it is. But a lot of times people want something like the end result, but they're not ready. Just like you said, maybe you're not ready for that big wave. I see so many people like suddenly go viral, but they're not mentally ready for it. And it can hurt you. Like, if you're not ready and haven't strengthened your mindset and your content and have any strategy, like it can honestly be more harmful than helpful. So, wherever you're at, just be so appreciative for whatever is happening. As long as you're putting in the input, you're showing up, you're doing your best, but not in a perfectionist way to where you're not finishing your best. But as long as you're doing your best, allow whatever is meant to happen. Allow things to fall into place the way they're supposed to, instead of trying to force and control things, because it's not going to be good. Like, things are always working out in your favor. That's how life works if you allow it to. Otherwise, you're probably just bringing on a lot of negativity, negative energy, bad results, because you're trying to make something happen that might not necessarily be best for you. And like, we're all supposed to thrive and succeed. And if we just do our best, we show up, we don't have distractions like TV stopping us from like that one step as a toddler, or that one throw as a second-year-old football player, or that one video you know you should post, then you're doing your best and everything will come when it's supposed to. But you have to find what your quote unquote not line is, your not line. And it might change every day and it might change every month. Mine changes constantly.
When are you starting surf lessons?
So I was supposed to do it last Tuesday, but with Oliver, couldn't do it because I need Evan to be here. So I'm hoping in 2 weeks. I'm going to go with Jade. with her guy. Yeah, she has somebody she knows, so we're all gonna go.
That is so exciting. I took some nasty spills yesterday. I got crushed a couple of times, but it is so fun. Just like 6 months ago when I first got my guitar and I was talking to everyone and I was like on this podcast, I mean, and I was like, honestly, it's just so refreshing to be a beginner at something again. Cause now, and it also is frustrating to be a beginner, right? We need to acknowledge that it is frustrating. I was getting a little frustrated yesterday. I'm not going to lie, but I still had the biggest smile on my face to just it's a little more frustrating when you like face plant and your board hits you in the forehead. Like that's a little different than like, oh, it didn't that chord didn't sound right on my guitar. But either way, like it's frustrating sometimes to be a beginner at things, but if you just have that attitude of gratitude like Michelle said, and you just give yourself the grace to learn, oh my goodness, life gets so good and so fun because like surfing is hard, learning guitar is hard, going viral on TikTok is hard, making money online is hard. It's all hard. So if you're not enjoying that process, it doesn't matter if you're a perfectionist or you're doing it messy, you're going to quit because you're frustrated. So you have to be super positive about it. Um, oh, I'm so excited to hear that you're going to learn to surf too. Are we going to be a surf podcast now?
Yes, 100%.
It's so fun and it's also so much harder than people make it look. It's
Oh, it's hard. I In Florida it was hard. It's just here the water's so cold. It's so different. This ocean is so different. It's dark. Like I'm a little afraid, but I like that feeling. I don't know why. I kind of like chase that fear and the uncertainty and like even if you are seasoned as something, can I just normalize the fact that maybe you're not good at a different platform? Like I've been putting off YouTube videos for 2 years now because I'm like everything has to be perfect because it's long form. And I put off TikTok shop and I did well for a few months and yesterday I made $1 and I was so grateful. I was like I made $1 today. Like I had 7,000 views and I was like I made $1 and I'm proud of myself and I'm going to keep showing up and I don't feel bad about that dollar just cuz I made 6,000 2 months ago. Like I'm like no, that dollar means something to me. That dollar is something. And so I think we all just also need to be more grateful for just the little things. It just changes so much and it helps me not be so perfectionistic too.
yeah, that's a really good point. And on the same note, I caught a couple waves yesterday and I was pumped. I was so happy like I got out of the water and I could not stop smiling even though overall it was probably the worst session that I've ever had. But I got out and I was so happy and proud. I was like I went out there. It was probably a little rough for me, not going to lie. Like might not have been the ideal day, but I caught a couple. I had a good time. I took some falls. Some people laughed at me for sure, and I was like, "Cool, I could take it. I could definitely take it." Um, so yeah, that attitude of gratitude, grateful for all the little moments and little lessons. It's really important.
Yeah. And it's honestly like there's just something about being an adult and being good at something and then having to take a step back and humble yourself to learn again, like as a very new person. I just think it's so beautiful that we have the opportunity to do that as human beings. I love it. Like I want to be 85 years old learning something from a 20-year-old who knows what they're doing and I'm a beginner. I want to continuously learn and grow and I'm only going to do that if I put in the work and like do something, if I take action. So if you're worried about do I do this perfect or not, if you're getting paid for it, try to spend more time on it. If it's going to be one of those videos that is the very first impression of you, spend more time on it. If it's not, just freaking have fun with it. Go for it. Just do what you know you can do. Show up, learn from each execution that you've done of whatever that is, and then do more and just continue that because life is fun. It's meant to be fun. It's not meant to be stressful all the time.
Yeah, that's a great point. I also love that you said you want to be learning new things when you're 85 because I am the same way. I'm having so much fun right now learning guitar and Spanish and to surf and like I'm still learning. I'm new to boat stuff too. This is my first full year like having access to a ton of different boats. So I'm learning how to be a great boater and be a fishing guide and I'm just constantly learning things and I also teach other things. Like some things I feel like I'm a lot more masterful at, and I'm always teaching. But even those things, I'm still learning. Like I'm always just like, everyone, give me information, give me lessons. What is one thing I could take away from this experience, from this day, from this moment? I'm always looking for that. I'm always looking for the lesson in everything. And it helps me be so level headed when shit hits the fan, or when I face plant and people are laughing at me and I'm like, it's fine. It's fine because I'm like, okay, I face planted. My weight was a little too far forward. That wave was a little too big for Nick. Lesson learned. And that's what it's all about. Learning the lesson in life. And like Michelle said, having fun. What is all of this for if you're not having fun? Because if you just show up and you're like, I want to make 10,000 a month, you are not going to have fun trying to get to there if that's all you're thinking about.
Yeah, it'll come. Like if you just show up and do what you know you're supposed to do and you enjoy the process, that will come. The 10K will come. It came for me, it came for Nick, and it's just like, cool. And then when it comes, it's not like it's like this one thing that now I'm happy forever. No, it came. It is what it is. Cool. Let's continue enjoying things. Because if it doesn't come next month, I still want to be grateful and happy with what I'm doing and happy with who I am. And I want you guys to all feel that same exact freedom of just embracing life and enjoying it. Because it's truly, to me, I'm like, that is what it's all for. Like, that is what we can do here. We can make a positive impact, we can help others, and we can enjoy it along the way. Like, it's so fun.
It is. It is so fun. Even this podcast,
I
like we
know.
were new. This is our 75th episode, which is so great. And I'm so happy that our 75th episode is a question from Kristen, too. That makes me super happy. But like, we were just learning how to do this 74 weeks ago. We were just like, we're starting a podcast. We're doing our best here. We're going to try and provide you guys with some value. And if you guys found value in today's episode and you want your own episode, go to creationtocashflow.com, submit that voice recording. We love to see those come in. And also, go rate the show. So many of you guys tell us how much you love the podcast, but our ratings don't reflect it. And therefore, it's not getting pushed out to all the people that need it. And then we can't keep delivering the amazing content that we're trying to deliver to you guys. So if you are loving it, give us that good rating or leave us that review, because that is our motivation. Michelle, anything else to add or summarize?
No, I think we covered everything. And I just want to give people the weight lifting off the shoulders feeling of things are never going to be perfect. And even if you think they are, the next month or next year, you're going to be like, wow, I thought that was real good. And I learned from that and I'm better now. And that's okay. I think that's actually pretty fun. And I think that should be normalized.
Yeah, I love that. I love that piece of advice for the listeners. So, Kristen, thank you for the thought provoking question. If you guys want to see more of me and Michelle, you can find Michelle on Instagram and TikTok and all the other places at Michelle JH with 2 L's, then 4 E's, JH. And you can find me on all the places at Get Ahead with Nick. And you can go follow Creation to Cash Flow and go watch us on YouTube, or see all of our short form clips, or get any other updates and things about the show. So we love you guys, and thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.